So I get asked all the time, Spencer, you're a younger guy, you're a successful guy. How did you get started in business? How did you get started in surplus funds? What are the events that transpired that led you to where you are today? And I'm gonna be frank with you, I don't really share that much about myself personally publicly, just because at the end of the day, this YouTube channel, my companies, all that are not about me. They're about what the services and products that we've built can do for you. So I don't really spend that much time on this, but it's been requested so much throughout the years, I figured I would just put together kind of a brief summary of my life and transpired. And I talk a little bit about this in my program as well, just because it's all kind of a big learning lesson. And so with that being said, that's what this video is. I think the biggest key component to my success has been my undying competitiveness. In fact, Cameron, who's my amazing video guy and executive producer, he has played basketball with me for many years. That's how we met. We played basketball at different high schools. And he's seen how competitive I get when I play basketball. And that's how I am all the time. I don't necessarily show it, but I'm constantly like in dominate mode. In fact, one of my life principles is dominate over compete. I don't believe in competing. I believe in obliterating my opponent. I don't believe in beating you in business. I believe in bankrupting you. And so everything I've done has always been with that mindset. And that initially started with sports. Because I was a big-time basketball player, and so I found this old picture of me. I thought it was cool, and I have some pictures I'm going to show you guys as well. But here's an old picture of me. That's me as a 8th grader dunking a basketball on, that's not quite a 10-foot hoop, but that's like an 8 or 9-foot hoop, and I'm in jeans and pants. And anyways, it was a good old time. I was up in San Francisco, and I used to love basketball. I would literally spend every waking moment thinking about playing, watching film, like doing everything about basketball was my life. And my dream was to go to the NBA. Wanted to go to the NBA. I didn't care about college. I mean, you know, I had to play in college because that's what you have to do if you want to go to the NBA, but I didn't really care about school or anything like that. I was always smart in terms of I always got decent grades, but I was never a great student, right? I didn't really turn in my homework on time. I never really studied for tests. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I ever read any of the books that were ever assigned to me in school, ever. I just did Spark Notes. I hated reading, or at least I thought I did at that time. And I was just playing basketball. That's what I would do. I'd wake up, I'd go to the basketball gym before school, I'd play, take a shower, go to school all day, lunch, I'd play basketball. No girls, nothing. I'd just play basketball, go back to school, have practice, lift weights, more basketball, and that's all I would do, 24/7. And then something happened, and another reason why this video was inspired is because the anniversary of this was yesterday. 8 years ago, as of March 15th, 2022, I shattered my ankle. And when I say shattered, I mean I literally shattered. So I'm gonna show you what it looks like here. You can see that's my leg, pointed straight out like this, and that's my foot like that. And what happened was I was a sophomore in high school. I was 15 years old. It was a few days before my 16th birthday. And I dunked the ball. And when I come down, I land on somebody's foot like that. Like you see my right foot right here, and I snap it like that. And I instantly knew it was broken. I had a bunch of ankle issues, ankle sprains and all that. But this was different. It was just the pain was excruciating, and I couldn't stand. I just fell back on my back immediately. And it's kind of a funny story because when it happened, I'm playing pickup at this park, and I land on my back, and the kid that I broke my ankle on, he was a friend of mine at that time. I'm not going to say his name for privacy reasons, but he was a year younger than me, so he was a freshman in high school, and he looks me in the eye, looks at my ankle looking like that, and then looks me back at the eye, and I'm like looking, I'm like, help me, right? And he just runs away, right? Like he was just so scared of the moment. He just ran away. And thank God there was a couple courts, and there was kind of an older gentleman on another court just kind of shooting around, and he came over and like gave me a shirt and like helped me out. And then there were some skater kids who, if you met any skaters, like real skaters, they don't care about any injuries. So they were like, oh, that's so cool, man, you broke your ankle. And they were like hanging out with me, and they were there when the paramedics came. And sure enough, they came, they gave me morphine. Immediately I was like, hey, just let's stop by Burger King, let's hang out. I was chilling, I was good. If you've ever been on morphine, you know what I'm talking about. And they took me to the hospital, and that was a wrap. So with that ankle break, I couldn't play basketball for like 8 months. I couldn't walk for probably 8 to 12 weeks. I had to get an emergency surgery on it. And what made it even worse was I had a knee injury on my left knee, and I broke my right ankle. And I had to get surgery on my left knee. And so they had to delay the surgery of that because of the ankle, and so it just extended this whole thing. And long story short, my entire identity was basketball, and that was shattered because I couldn't play for like, again, 9 months. The recruiting season for basketball heavily is like your junior year of high school. I lost that whole season, and I was screwed basically. Really depressed, and I was just stuck in bed all day, and I started going a little crazy. In fact, I can remember specifically several times my mom would walk in on me in my bedroom having like a staring contest with stuffed animals that I had, because I just started going crazy. Like I didn't talk to anybody. I would just like, My fingernails were growing. It was bad. It was a really bad situation. She would try to keep me company. My mom would try to keep me company to kind of like relax, get me a little more sane. There was a couple times where she would mention that her dream was to own a home. And one of those days it just clicked and I was like, I want to be successful. I want to make money. Basketball, being the NBA, that's not the route for me. Well, what if I learn about real estate, right? At least if I learn about real estate, I could, potentially make some money and help her, or at the bare minimum connect her to people that could get her a discount on a property or help her get a house. So that became my mission, and I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a very famous book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. And I became enthralled with real estate and business. And I was never really into the real estate agent thing. It was shouldn't say not into it, but it just was never my thing necessarily. It was always like building a huge empire, real estate empire, and building a huge business. That was always kind of my dream. And so fast forward, healed up, and once I healed up, I started going to real estate events. So this is probably a few years later. You can see now I'm probably a junior, late junior in high school. I've got my varsity jacket on and I'm attending these real estate events and I'm networking with these 40-year-old men. And I remember the first real estate event I ever went to was here in Irvine, California. I show up there and I'm nervous, okay? I'm like really nervous because I know it doesn't seem like it on camera. I'm very much not an extrovert in a lot of situations. Like I'm very much extroverted on camera. I'm very much extroverted when I'm comfortable around people. But when I'm new, like in new certain social situations, I'm very much an introvert. I shut down. But I've always been good at pushing myself past that. And so I sit there, I get to this event an hour early. It's my first ever real estate event. Pay my $10 to get in there. And here I am, I'm a 16, 17-year-old kid. And all these 45-year-old grown businessmen in suits are coming in. They're sitting next to me. And I'm like, I don't know how to start a conversation. I'm like, oh, what do you say, right? And I sit there for 45 minutes by myself on my phone, right? Like hoping nobody sees me. And finally I do, hey, listen, the speaker today, Jack Fullerton, he's almost here. He's gonna be on stage in 15 minutes. If you need to use the restroom or get a snack or something, go do it now. So I'm like, all right, so I leave, I go to the restroom. And this guy, Jack Fullerton, I had read about him online. I had never seen any pictures of him. I didn't know who he was, but everybody in the room was talking about him like he was like this huge deal. And he was this huge residential real estate investor here in the Orange County area and had been teaching for like decades. And I go in the restroom and I'm thinking in my head like, I have to talk to somebody. Like I have to talk to somebody. I've been sitting there like a wuss for a year, and it feels like a year, like when you're sitting there by yourself and everyone else is talking, you're just on your phone pretending not to be seen. And I gotta talk to somebody. So I'm in the bathroom washing my hands, and this old man comes up next to me, and he's wearing cargo shorts and Crocs, okay? And this is at a hotel, so I'm thinking he's a hotel guest. So we're talking. He said, oh, sir, have you seen the speaker before? I said, no, I've never seen him before. Okay, cool. Well, what do you do? I'm like, dude, I'm in high school, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm in high school. I've never been to one of these. I don't really know what I'm doing here. He said, you're in high school? That's awesome, man. He says, that really inspired me. He says, come talk to me after the show. And I said, well, what's your name? He says, I'm Jack Fullerton. And I was like, wow, holy crap. So he goes up, he gives this amazing speech, and at the end of it, I had the courage, I went up to him, I talked to him, I got his phone number, and he was my first real estate mentor. And he taught me the ins and outs of the game. I started getting into wholesaling and bird dogging. I had a little bird dog wholesale business in high school. I ended up starting some other businesses in high school, had some success. Fast forward now, I'm 18, 19 years old, and I am, a real estate agent. Here's a photo of me outside, a kind of a weird photo of me and my buddy Clayton in the background, outside of this office I used to work out of a little bit in Laguna Beach, California. So we're making some money. We're not making bajillions of dollars, but we're doing okay, and life is good. And at that moment, I realized my dream has always been to build a huge company. And in real estate, obviously there's massive real estate companies, but one of the big problems with it is I was 18 with acne all over my face, and nobody really takes you seriously when you're 18 with acne all over your face, and you're not even really confident in yourself, because I wasn't that confident in myself at that point in time. So I had met people that had online businesses that scaled from like 0 to like 100K a month, or 0 to 300K a month, and I was like, I gotta try something online. So with Clayton, I started this Amazon business, and that's a whole nother story, but basically bankrupted me. It was horrendous. It was a horrible experience. And I was like, okay, well, most people would take that and be like, well, obviously online business just doesn't work for me. At first that was my reaction, and then I said, you know what, obviously I did something wrong. And so I recalibrated, and at that time I attended a real estate event, this little meetup with 20 people in it. At that point in time I had this notebook, 70 pages long, front to back, with every single real estate investing strategy I could find on the internet. I had been studying it since I was 15, 16 years old when I broke my ankle, and I'm 19 at this point, so it's been 4 or 5 years. And this guy goes on stage and he starts talking about how you can make money by giving money back to somebody after a foreclosure. And I pulled out my notebook and I'm scrolling through, I'm like, I've never heard of this before. And I'm like, is that what it? No, it's not this. Is that what it is? It's not that. And finally, I'm like, well, this guy's got to be full of shit. This can't be real. There's no way that this is real. So I raise my hand and I start asking really condescending questions, right? And I'm really skeptical. I'm like, well, how does the money actually get there? And then he explains that, and I'm like, that kind of makes sense, right? And I said, okay. I said, well, but how do you make money by actually doing it? And he said, kind of explains that. I'm like, that kind of makes sense too. And finally, I was like, dude, this can't be real. Like, there's no way. He's like, dude, this is real. And so sure enough, I talked to the guy that was hosting the meeting, not the guy actually speaking, but the guy hosting the meeting, who's now my business partner, David Church, shout out to you. And I was like, this can't be real. Like, there's no way. He's like, dude, it's real. I've done it before. And he taught me how to do it. And I was like, this is absolutely amazing. And I realized the potential of this not only for a business where I could be making, way more than I was making wholesaling and doing the real estate thing, but doing it way easier because I'm just giving away money. And then I realized, like, dude, if we bring this online, we could help so many people because nobody knows about this. Just like me, I'd done all the research. I knew everything about real estate online. I read every single article. It didn't exist at that point. That's when it all kind of clicked, and that's where the idea for surplusfund.com came from. And I convinced David to be my partner. I said, look, David, I know surplus funds, but you're the expert. You've been doing it. Why don't you be the guy that coaches everybody and teaches them how to do it? And you've got 10 years of experience doing this. I've been doing it for a few months. He agreed. Took a little convincing, but he agreed to be my partner. And the rest is history. We launched the company. For the first 6 months, absolutely nobody wanted to learn anything about surplus funds. They thought it was the dumbest idea in the world. Looking back, there was several times where I contemplated quitting because it was so hard. Because, when you have this dream of what you want reality to be, and everybody in the world tells you that you're stupid, literally everybody in the world. My mom told me that it wouldn't work, like everybody in the world. And I love my mom, but I'm just telling you, everybody in the world. And it seems like everything's against you, but I just was determined to push through. And eventually, after 6 months, we finally got people interested, and we finally cracked the code. And since then, we've helped over 5,000 people start their own surplus fund business. And we've recovered hundreds of millions of dollars collectively. And so I share the story because, number one, again, I get asked all the time about my background. And this is like a brief summary. Obviously, it goes way more than that. But number two is, hopefully it's inspiring. I've lived a very interesting life. I'm very grateful. Like, the worst things that have happened to me in life have subsequently become the best things in my life. My ankle injury, without that, I wouldn't be here today. I would be probably playing basketball overseas or in college or something like that. And that's fine if that's what you did, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm so happy with where I'm at now. I have 35, 40 people that are part of our team. We've helped thousands of people. We've recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for people. And I just could not be prouder of how amazing of a company that we've built, being involved in all those amazing lives that we've been able to help and change. So with that being said, moral of the story is don't give up on your dreams. It's a long road to success, and I hope this video was entertaining. So if you liked the video, click like down below. If you're new here, subscribe. My name's Spencer Van, and you're awesome if you watch this and you don't know who I am. That'd be kind of funny, but I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Subscribe, like, comment your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video.